Okay, here's an interesting study that came out. It says blue-eyed blondes invaded Israel 6,500 years ago, and they find it through their DNA study. Let's take a look at this. Here's looking at one of the things of the cave here, one of the sites they found here. You can see all the stalagmites coming down. It was buried into a cave system that they had found there. It's called Peeky-In Cave. Peeky-In Cave. You want to go peeky in a cave? You go peeky in a cave. An international team of researchers from Tel Aviv University, the Israel Antiquities Authority, and Harvard University have discovered that waves of migration from Anatolia and the Zagros Mountains, which would be Samaria and the Elamites and so on, of today's Turkey and Iran, to the Levant helped develop the Chalcolithic culture that existed in Israel's Upper Galilee region some 6,500 years ago. The study, Ancient DNA from Chalcolithic Israel, reveals the role of population mixture in cultural transformation. That's the name of the paper. Published in Nature Communications, is one of the largest ancient DNA studies ever conducted in Israel, and is for the first time sheds light on the origins of the Chalcolithic culture in the Levant approximately 6,500 years ago, or about 2,500 years before the Bible says the world even started. And so we're looking at a lot of their chalices that they actually have here, and you can see that they have perhaps a vent in the bottom of them where you can put things down inside of them, and kind of a strange effigy too that they have here. It also relates somewhat to a corded wear style. Research for the study was led by Dr. Hyla May and Professor Israel Herskovitz of the Department of Anatomy and Anthropology. Dan David Center for Human Evolution and Biohistory Research at Tao's Sackler Facility of Medicine, Dr. Dina Shalom of the Institute of Galilean Archaeology at Kinneret College, and the Israel Antiquities Authority at Ida Doyne, Harney, and Professor David Reich of Harvard University. It was published in Nature Communications. In 1995, Zvi Gal, Dina Shalem, and Howard Smithline of the IAA began excavating the Pekin Cave in northern Israel, which dates to the Chalcolithic period in the Levant. The team unearthed dozens of burials in the natural stalactite cave, which is 17 meters long and 5 to 8 meters wide. And here's a look into here, and you can see these casks that they have here, and ossuaries and stuff. And oddly enough, if you look on this, it has those little knobs on the side of it, like perhaps to hold or carry it, but also those are the same type of knobs you find on all of the ancient stonework that you see around in the world, that a lot of people just call Cyclopean and not sure of its connections, and it's seen around the world. In this picture here too, you can see a bladed nose effigy, an egg in something that looks to me like a mouse, and this is turned over the other way, but it looks like this was supposed to have been some type of cradle type device, or it flipped over the other way is the effigy of a temple, right? Large number of unique ceramic ossuaries and the variety of burial offerings discovered in the cave suggest that it was once used as a mortuary center by the local Chalcolithic people. The uniqueness of the cave is evident in the number of people buried in it, more than 600, and the variety of ossuaries and jars, the outstanding motifs on them, including geometric and anthropomorphic designs, says Dr. Dina Shalom of the Institute of Galilean Archaeology at Kinneret College and the IAA. And so now we get another closer look at some of these here, and things of note that I want to point out to you is this is a human body on the side of this ossuary, and that what we see here are two eyes and a bladed nose with a flat face, like we've been looking at in the Proto Indo Europeans and other people, and it led off into Sumer also, so this shows you a definite other connection. She has two boobies. This is a lady. This is a lady's effigy here. Kind of an axe blade head, right? Then we see over here the same type of concept going with a flat head and that bird nose, that blade nose that's on there too, and it seems like a rope or a cording around her neck. And this is a dual ossuary. This part lifts up. This is a jar or a setup or something like that, and people were buried in these things. like some of the ancient burials that I've shown you where people were buried actually in jars and things like that, recreating a womb, or on their left-hand side in a fetal position, generally covered with red ochre and facing to the east. And this connects to that too. This ossuary here looks almost like a lion to me, I guess I'd say, with the lion's face on here and the bladed nose, or an owl. I don't know. It's kind of a strange effigy. I would go more with a lion type of effigy. It looks like it has a beard going around it, and these stripes upon its face, though, would make it look more like a tiger. And that's an oddity because there are no tigers in this part of the world. In fact, they're not until the other side of the Tigris and Euphrates River, where apparently these people had somewhat come from. So maybe that's also revealing. Some of these findings in the cave are typical to the region, but others suggest cultural exchange with remote regions. The study revolves a long debate about the origin of the unique culture of those Chalcolithic people. Did the culture change and the region follow waves of migration? The infiltration of ideas due to trade relations and or culture exchange or local inventions? We know that the answer is migration, says Dr. Shalem. The researchers subjected 22 of the skeletons excavated at Peking dating to the Chalcolithic period to a whole genome analysis. This study of 22 individuals is the largest ancient DNA studies carried out for a single archaeological site and for the largest ever reported in the Near East, Dr. May says. Here's one of these ossuary jugs that they have, and a neat thing that you can see in this is if you look, the little handle loops and looped handle wear, and of course loops on handles is traced down by a lot of pottery type of people and stuff, and you can see the connections with others, but these small extra loops that are here and then across the top showing you that you would tie this down and the lid would be tied down after it was filled. Kind of gives you a neat other insight into it, and again stood up on the top with a porthole opening, like you could even put a fire up under here or something to heat this in some way. It's not near big enough, but it has that same concept of bottom to it, or an incense burning type place, which may be exactly what it was for. Perhaps they lit an incense on a little dais or a rock, and then they set this on top of it and let it go from there, right? The genetic analysis provided an answer to the central question to set out to address, says Professor Reich. He's the guy from Harvard. It showed that the Peking people had substantial ancestry from northerners, similar to those of living in Iran and Turkey, and that was not present in the earlier Levantine farmers. Certain characteristics, such as genetic mutations contributing to blue eye color, were not seen in the DNA test results earlier of Levantine human remains, says Dr. May. The chances for the success of such studies seem slim, since most of the ancient DNA studies carried out in Israel have failed due to difficult climatic conditions in the region that destroy DNA. But I'd like to add to that, by being trapped into a cave, which may have had a more controlled environment to it, as caves often do, probably preserved this quite well. And it's things like this that allow us to preserve and find things. And indeed, cave findings are going to be one of the few things out in the open is pretty much lost and gone. But there are attempts, and there are certain bones in a human body which will hold it much longer. And now finding out those and better ways of doing it, we've come up with being able to go back much further now. Fortunately, however, human DNA is preserved in the bones of these buried people in the Peking cave, likely due to the cool conditions within the cave and the limestone crust that covered the bones and preserved their DNA, says Professor Herkovitz. We also find that the Peking population experienced abrupt demographic change around 6,000 years ago, concludes Edwin Harney, who led the statistical analysis for the study. Indeed, these findings suggest that the rise and falls of the Chalcolithic culture are probably due to the demographic changes in the region. And so that's the end of that one there. But so that shows you these blonde-haired and blue-eyed Caucasians coming from the Sumerian area, as we've been talking about through our videos. And you can see them having their blue eyes in their statues, so they were the originals coming from there. Now, an oddity is that someone was probably going to try to connect this to the fact of Abraham leaving and coming over and showing the genetics of doing so. But this is so many thousands of years before then, and this actually correlates to what I've been talking about the early diaspora that happened out of Samaria at its origins, pretty much. and before they were actually called what we call the Sumerians today. Most of what we call Sumerians today is a Akkadian blend and not the original Sumerians that were there from before, and the Ubaid periods and things that go along with. But incredible stuff and incredible finds, and somebody's going to come out with a better article on this and a little more deep. Someone's going to come out with a little more revealing article on it eventually too, and there might be some visuals being able to look at a lot of these estuaries and these things all in one place. And again, just like I've shown you in a few of the other Proto-European things, some of the symbology on these is going to be quite revealing. This here is just showing multi-chorded, so 1, 2, 3, 4 chords, but here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chords going around this jug, up and down and up and down and up and down. And is this symbolic of anything, or is this showing mountains, or is this just a design? After you see a bunch of them, you might be able to detect a differential. Anyhow, guys, like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy. But yeah, blue-eyed Caucasians in Israel, 6000 BC, well predating the biblical stories, and it shows you who was there and when this all began. For we are twice the age of the starting of Egypt, pretty much. And so we have a primordial people that are living around this area, but somebody came in and helped it kick it in the ass. And it looks like it was these people right here who continued on through this time. There's another interesting article that I read recently by a guy that said that he believed that the Göbekli Tepe people had come down and become the Natufians of this area here. And then those Natufians were a portion of what actually started primordial Egypt, along with a Sumerian influx like Zagros Mountains like this also. And then I've shown recently in my Egyptian series that I did that at that point there also was another influx from Sumeria with the reed boats and so on, the followers of Shemsu-Hor, and that eagle or falcon looking god that you see in a lot of the Sumerians with this pine cone showing a tree of life. And he, in a turn, ended up Johnny Appleseeding his people into a new area that developed into what we know of as Egypt. Anyhow, guys, like, share, and subscribe. More to come. Peace.